You've probably invested a lot of time and, well, honestly, a pretty massive chunk of your marketing budget into setting up Google Analytics 4. I mean, you log in, the dashboard looks incredibly sleek, and your team is probably in there reviewing those metrics every single week.
Oh, absolutely. It becomes part of the routine.
Right. And you look at the charts and you finally feel like, okay, I have a solid handle on my website traffic. But what if you are completely blind to the most crucial parts of your customer's journey?
It is a terrifying thought,
Yeah.
especially for anyone who is actually managing a business or directing a marketing strategy.
Oh, no.
The whole idea that this beautiful, meticulously organized dashboard you rely on is essentially lying to you by omission.
Yeah, lying by omission. And that is exactly what we're going to unpack today. We're doing a deep dive into this really insightful source material we got from BTW Media. They're a consultancy based in South Africa.
Right, yeah. They put out some really solid analysis.
They really do. So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out why relying on GA4 alone is actually this massive blind spot, specifically for, mid-sized and enterprise companies. And maybe more importantly, how Google Tag Manager, or GTM, is basically the essential missing puzzle piece you need to secure, absolute data accuracy.
Yeah, it's a really critical distinction to make because right now, today, there are enterprise-level teams making million-dollar decisions based on analytics that really only tell half the story.
Wow. Millions.
Exactly. And in today's digital landscape, having incomplete data is often, I'd argue, more dangerous than having no data at all.
Wait, really? More dangerous than no data?
Yeah, because it gives you this false sense of confidence, right?
Right.
You think you know exactly how users are behaving on your site, so you just go ahead and allocate your budget based on that totally flawed assumption.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So I guess before we can actually solve the problem, we need to understand why the current setup you might have is flawed, even though it, looks like it's working perfectly on the surface. Right.
The source material actually points out that GA4 does some things really well right out of the box. Like you install the base snippet and suddenly, boom, you get your page views.
Yeah, the basic heartbeat stuff.
Exactly. You get scroll tracking, I think up to 90% depth. You can see outbound link clicks, embedded YouTube video engagement, file downloads, all of that. And if you are running a small personal blog, that is totally fine.
Yeah, for a local bakery or just a basic portfolio site, those default metrics are great. Like I said, they give you the heartbeat, if the site is alive.
Right.
But for a mid-sized enterprise where you have a complex, multi-touch point customer journey, it is just severely lacking. The source actually uses a great analogy here. They say GA4 gives you a very powerful engine.
Okay.
But Google Tag Manager provides the steering wheel, the pedals, and, the complex dashboard instruments you need to actually drive the car.
I love that. I was actually thinking about it kind of like a security camera system.
Oh, yeah. How so? Out of the box, GA4 is basically a camera that only points at the front door of your retail store. You know exactly when someone walked in, right? They didn't immediately leave because they didn't trigger a bounce. But you have absolutely zero idea what they did once they were actually inside walking the aisles. Did they look at the extensive shoes? Did they try on a jacket and then, put it back? You just don't know.
That is spot on. And relying on client-side tracking without GTM just leaves the entire interior of the store completely in the dark.
But let me push back on that for just a second.
Sure, go for it.
If my GA4 camera tells me they entered the store and then my back-end sales platform tells me they eventually bought the shoes, isn't that basic traffic to revenue data enough? Do I really need to dedicate resources to tracking every single aisle they walk down?
I mean, if we connect this to the bigger picture.
Yes.
You absolutely do.
ILA.
Yeah, because if you only measure the people who walked in and the people who bought something, you are completely missing the vast majority of your visitors.
Oh, right. The people who didn't buy.
Exactly. What about the 95% who walked in, browsed around, and then just left without buying anything? Without GTM, you're making these crucial business decisions based on massive data gaps.
Yeah, makes sense.
You don't know why they left. You don't know if your checkout button is malfunctioning on mobile devices specifically, or if your pricing page layout is just super confusing. You just see a bounce.
Right, they just vanish. But, missing a purchase is one thing. I feel like the real revenue killer is what happens right before the purchase.
Oh, for sure.
If you don't know why that 95% left, how are you supposed to fix your checkout? The BTW Media source gets really specific here about these silent leaks in the sales pipeline.
Yes, the silent leaks. Those are brutal.
Because GA4 default tracking misses very specific high-intent button clicks. It completely misses things like a download brochure click, or a request quote button. And it even misses certain add to cart interactions depending on how your specific site is coded.
Right, and let's look at the real-world implications of that, especially with form abandonment in, say, a B2B sales pipeline.
Okay, lay it out for me.
So, out-of-the-box GA4 only logs a success when a form is entirely completed and submitted. It is a strictly binary outcome.
Basically just a 0 or a 1. It happened or it didn't.
Exactly. But with Google Tag Manager, you unlock visibility into partial completions. You can actually see field-by-field errors. You can see the exact moment a user hesitated.
So, wait, we are intentionally setting up systems to track the failures, not just the successes.
Precisely. Because the failures are where your lost revenue lives.
That is wild. It's like watching a customer pick up a product, look really closely at the price tag, visibly wince, and then put it back down on the shelf.
Yeah, that wins. That's the data you need.
Right. That hesitation data is often way more valuable than the final receipt because the receipt just tells you what's already working. But the hesitation tells you exactly what needs to be fixed.
Exactly. And GA4 alone cannot give you that hesitation data. It just reports that the user loaded the contact page and then, exited the site.
Wow.
But with GTM tracking specific field interactions, you might discover that, like, 80% of your users abandon the quote form exactly when you ask for their direct phone number.
Oh, because nobody wants to be cold called.
Exactly. And that is actionable enterprise-level data. You drop that mandatory phone number field, and suddenly your lead volume doubles overnight.
Okay, that is huge. So once you realize what data you are missing, which is basically all the vital nuance, the next logical question I have is, well, why can't my internal developers just code these specific cracking events directly into GA4?
I hear that question all the time.
Like, why do we need to introduce this whole separate tag manager platform into our architecture? It seems like an extra step.
Well, it fundamentally comes down to escaping the IT bottleneck.
Yaki bottleneck.
Yeah. Traditional hard coding creates massive delays because of the inherent friction between marketing agility and IT stability.
Those two departments are always at odds, aren't they?
Always. Let's walk through the standard GA4 only approach for an enterprise. Marketing realizes they need to track interactions on a new promotional banner for a campaign that's launching next week.
Okay.
So they write up a Jira ticket or a request. IT reviews it, which usually takes, 3 to 10 days because they have a massive backlog.
Right. Marketing is never priority number one for IT.
Nope. So a developer eventually writes the code, then it goes to quality assurance for another 2 to 5 days, and then finally it gets scheduled for a production deployment.
So you're looking at what, 2 to 4 weeks total just to track a single banner click?
Yep.
By the time the code is live, the marketing campaign might literally already be over.
And that's exactly why GTM is so crucial. It reduces that timeline from weeks to hours or sometimes even minutes.
Really? Minutes?
Yeah, because marketing can configure the tag inside the GTM interface, preview it, and publish it without requiring a developer to push code to the live site for every single minor change.
Man, here's where it gets really interesting to me because mid-size enterprises are never just using GA4.
Oh, never.
You have Google Ads running, you have Metapixels, LinkedIn tracking, maybe TikTok, plus your own customer data platforms.
A whole ecosystem.
Right. And if you hard code all of that, you are managing separate individual tracking rules for every single platform directly in your website's source code. I have personally lived through the nightmare of manual data reconciliation.
Oh no, spreadsheets everywhere.
Yes. When GA4 says you had 20 sales and then Facebook claims you had 50 and you're just staring at a spreadsheet trying to guess which platform is lying to you?
It is a totally ubiquitous pain point.
Yeah.
But GTM solves this by acting as a central data layer.
Okay, explain that.
You establish one single set of tracking rules. When someone clicks buy, GTM registers that single event and then simultaneously distributes the exact same consistent data to GA4, to Meta, LinkedIn, and wherever else you need it.
So everyone is working off the same script.
Exactly. It ensures total consistency across your entire marketing stack. The platforms might still have different attribution windows, but they are all working from the identical baseline of events.
Okay, but hold on. I need to push back on the speed aspect for a second.
Okay, what's the concern?
You're telling me marketing can just bypass IT and inject executable JavaScript directly onto the live company website in a matter of hours?
Oh, yes.
Any chief information officer listening right now is having an absolute heart attack. I mean, a poorly written script can break the site's CSS, it can slow down page load times, or worse, inadvertently scrape sensitive customer data.
Right.
How is this not a massive enterprise security risk? Handing marketing the keys to the website source code sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It's a really valid point, and it is entirely justified for a CIO to worry about that. But bypassing developer bottlenecks does not mean you abandon enterprise security.
Okay, so how do you stop them from breaking the site?
It means implementing proper governance within the GTM environment itself. GTM actually provides enterprise-grade security features, specifically designed to mitigate that exact risk.
How does that actually work in practice, though?
Well, first, you implement strict role-based user permissions. You don't just give everyone in the marketing department the master key.
Right. The interns shouldn't be publishing code.
Exactly. You have users who can only view the setup, users who can edit and build tags but cannot publish them, and highly restricted users who have the final approve and publish rights.
Ah, okay. It's essentially like the editorial process at a newspaper.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Like a journalist, which would be the marketing team. They can write the article really fast, but they can't just hit the publish button and blast it out to the front page without the managing editor reviewing it, checking the sources, and actually signing off.
Yes, and that editor, your approver in GTM, has access to comprehensive container change history and detailed audit logs. GTM tracks exactly who changed what and when they changed it.
That's a good paper trail.
Plus, you can set up approval workflows that require multiple sign-offs before anything goes live.
So it's speed, but with really heavy guardrails.
Exactly. Speed with guardrails. Furthermore, enterprise GTM setups utilize environment-specific containers.
What does that mean?
It means you have a development environment, a staging environment, and a production environment. Marketing can build and test their new tags in the staging environment.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they use the preview and debug mode to ensure the tag fires correctly, and, crucial to your earlier point, ensure it doesn't break the site layout or throw JavaScript errors before it ever touches the live production server.
Okay, so the IT department can officially breathe a sigh of relief. The governance is definitely there.
Safe and secure.
So, assuming the secure system is in place, what advanced capabilities does this unlock that hard coding literally cannot achieve? Because the BTW Media source material goes into something called the data layer, and it sounds like the engine that actually powers all of this.
Oh, the data layer is absolutely the secret weapon of GTM. It is essentially a temporary JavaScript storage space for structured user interactions.
Okay.
Think of it as a dedicated translator between your website's complex backend database and your front-end analytics platforms.
Let's ground this in a specific example from the source. Because they mentioned that without the data layer, GA4 might just scrape the HTML of the confirmation page and get a generic ping saying a purchase happened.
Right.
And the problem with scraping HTML is that if a developer changes the class name of the checkout button, your tracking breaks instantly.
Instantly. It's so fragile.
But with the GTM data layer, your website pushes this rich, highly structured, and stable package of information that is completely immune to cosmetic site changes.
Yeah. And the source provides an excellent breakdown of this. Instead of just a generic purchase event, GA4 receives this specific transaction ID, like TX12345. It receives an array of the exact products, say a laptop pro and a wireless mouse. It captures the precise revenue. The example they used was R12,499 D0000, which, highlights our South African source material with the Rand currency.
Right, roughly over $600 US, yeah.
Exactly. And it even captures the customer segment, noting that this was a first-time buyer.
That level of granularity is what transforms analytics from just a basic reporting tool into an actual strategic engine. You aren't just counting clicks anymore, you are analyzing detailed buyer profile.
Absolutely.
But as powerful as the data layer is, the source indicates it isn't even the most impactful capability.
No, it's not.
The most significant shift for enterprises right now is server-side tracking.
It absolutely is. This is where the industry is moving.
The source threw out a statistic that genuinely shocked me. It stated that 30 to 40% of enterprise data is simply lost right now due to ad blockers and browser privacy features.
Yeah, features like Safari's intelligent tracking prevention.
Right, 30 to 40%. That is almost half your traffic, completely invisible to your marketing team.
It is a massive crisis for attribution. I mean, think about it. If you spend $50,000 on a campaign and 30% of the resulting conversions are blocked by the user's browser, your return on ad spend looks terrible.
Oh man, yeah.
You might end up killing a campaign that is actually highly profitable simply because the data didn't make it back to GA4 or Facebook.
So how exactly does GTM server-side fix this? The source says it recovers this data by bypassing ad blockers via a server-to-server data flow, and it can actually extend first-party cookie lifetimes up to 2 years. But what does this all mean? Like, are we technically bypassing user privacy blockers? Because that sounds like a legal gray area, or at the very least, circumventing user consent.
I'm glad you asked that, because what's fascinating here is that it is not a hack. It is not malicious, and it strictly respects user consent if configured correctly.
Okay.
It is legitimately shifting your tracking infrastructure. See, traditional tracking is client-side, meaning it relies on the user's browser to execute third-party scripts from Google or Meta.
Right.
Browsers like Safari rightfully block these third-party scripts because historically they leak data to dozens of unknown vendors, slowing down the web and compromising privacy.
So Safari sees a script from like Facebook.com trying to run on my website, and it just shuts it down completely.
Exactly. Server-side tracking moved that entire process to a secure cloud server that you own and control. You configure a subdomain of your own website, for example, metrics.yourcompany.com.
Okay, I follow.
So when a user interacts with your site, the data is sent to your subdomain.
Because it's routing through my own domain. Safari looks at it and says, this isn't Facebook snooping. This is the company itself. It treats it as a secure first-party interaction.
Precisely. The browser trusts it.
Yeah.
And once the data hits your secure server, your server then decides what specific data points to package up and pass along to Facebook or Google APIs.
You control the flow.
Exactly. Because it operates on your first-party server infrastructure, it restores your visibility into your own site's performance and extends the life of those first-party cookies.
Wow.
And this is absolutely critical if you have a B2B sales cycle that takes, say, 6 to 9 months. If your tracking cookie expires after 7 days because of browser restrictions, you can never connect the initial ad click to the final enterprise sale.
I am completely sold. Honestly, if I'm an enterprise director listening to this, I'm thinking I need this architecture implemented yesterday.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
But ripping out the foundational trapping of a multi-million-dollar website sounds terrifying.
It is not for the faint of heart.
Right. So how does a mid-sized enterprise actually pull off this migration from hard-coded GA4 to GTM without accidentally breaking their current site, causing a data blackout, and losing all their historical metrics?
Well, the source outlines a very practical, phased roadmap. And the core philosophy here is absolutely no big bang deployments.
No big bang. I like that.
Yeah. You do not just delete your old tracking on a Friday afternoon and pray the new setup works on Monday morning.
So let's walk through exactly how you mitigate that risk, where you even start.
Phase 1 is assessment, which takes about 1 to 2 weeks. You don't build anything yet. You audit your existing GA4 setup, identify your data gaps, and basically ask, what do you wish you could track but can't right now?
Figuring out what's broken or missing.
Exactly. And you painstakingly inventory every single hard-coded tag currently living on your website. Over the years, most enterprise sites build up this Frankenstein code base of old tracking scripts from, agencies that no longer even work there.
Oh, yeah, you figure out what a mess you actually have. Then what?
Phase 2 is the GTM setup. Another 1 to 2 weeks, you create the account and you install the GTM snippet alongside your existing GA4 tags.
Oh, alongside.
This is a crucial detail. You do not turn the old hard-coded tracking off yet. You also use this time to set up those vital enterprise permissions and governance workflows we discussed earlier.
Okay, that sets up phase 3, which is the actual migration of existing tags.
Yeah.
And the source says that takes around 2 to 4 weeks.
Right.
This is the critical overlap phase. It's exactly like replacing an old suspension bridge while traffic is still driving on it.
That's a great analogy.
You don't blow up the old bridge until the new one is built right next to it, and you've confirmed that both are carrying the exact same data load without collapsing.
Spot on. You gradually remove the hard-coded tags page by page, recreate them in GTM, and validate them using GTM's preview and debug mode to monitor for any discrepancies between the old system and the new one.
And once you know the new bridge is structurally sound, phase 4 is extend tracking.
Yep.
And this is an ongoing process. Now you can finally start adding the advanced capabilities. You implement that robust data layer for e-commerce, you integrate your third-party marketing tags centrally, and you set up that server-side tracking environment to recover that 30–40% of blocked data.
And finally, phase 5 is governance and training, which is also an ongoing discipline.
Because the tech is useless if people don't know how to use it.
Exactly. The best technology in the world is useless without process. You have to meticulously document your tagging standards, train the marketing team on how to use the staging environments, enforce those change request workflows, and run regular audits to ensure the container stays clean over time.
It's a serious undertaking, but the cost of not doing it is just too high. Let's bring this all together.
Yeah.
We started by shining a light on the massive blind spots of out-of-the-box GA4. We uncovered how relying solely on default metrics misses crucial sales funnel hesitations and partial form abandonments.
Wait, the silent leaks.
We discussed how GTM allows marketing teams to escape the IT bottleneck with incredible agility while keeping the CIO happy through strict enterprise-grade governance and staging environments.
Speed with guardrails.
We explored how the data layer translates complex back-end actions and how server-side tracking fundamentally shifts your infrastructure to recover up to 40% of lost data. And finally, we mapped out a safe, overlapping 5-step migration plan to ensure you don't lose a single data point during the transition.
It really is a journey from having a generic, fragile tracking setup that leaks data to owning a robust, centralized data infrastructure that empowers your entire marketing stack.
It is. And I want to leave you with a thought that the source material sparked. The blog mentioned that server-side tracking creates durable first-party data assets for a cookieless world.
That is a great phrase.
It's deeply profound. As third-party cookies finally die off completely and browser privacy blockers get increasingly aggressive, I wonder, will the dividing line between thriving enterprises and failing businesses no longer be about who has the cleverest marketing strategy or the most creative ad copy? Will it simply come down to who actually owns their own server-side data infrastructure?
It's a sobering reality to consider. If your competitor has server-side tracking and can see 40% more of the board than you can, it doesn't really matter how brilliant your strategy is.
Yeah.
They're playing a completely different game with a full deck of cards while you were basically guessing in the dark.
Are we entering an era where your data architecture isn't just basic IT plumbing, but is actually your primary competitive advantage? That is something I highly recommend every marketing leader, IT director, and business owner spend some serious time mulling over this week. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.